What's up, lovely people? Welcome to the Coach Me If You Can show. I'm your host, Peter Charles Weller, and welcome to this very exclusive corner of chaos, the corner of chaos that is my life. You guys get a front row seat as I get coached through it to find out if I can thrive instead of just surviving. Now, to help me in this, I spoke to a mindset coach. This mindset coach is called Tom Godfrey, and he's based in the UK. Tom is also an author. He wrote a book called Shift, the Mindset Method for Leaders. And just to set the scene, so the Cambridge Dictionary defines mindset as a person's way of thinking and their opinions. There was a moment in the show we were speaking about my formula for a fulfilled life, and we had just sketched that the formula equals my impact on my family. And the formula is something I'm constantly tweaking, trying to perfect so that the impact on my family is maximized. And he asked me, whose opinion of you is most important to you? And I said, well, that's easy. That's my family. That's my wife, my children. He said, who else? And I said, like 50 meters of nothing. And then my best mate. He said, who else? And I kind of paused, and it was like a deer in headlights moment. Because I thought to myself, and that's where I didn't do you guys justice because I didn't narrate my thoughts, but what was going through my head in that moment was, shit, if I'm number one, so if my opinion of me is more important to me than that of my daughters, does that make me a bad dad? And you can see in the episode how a reframing or a shift, to use Tom's vocab, occurred. And that was a really cool moment. And it's been something that I've been chewing on since, that to maximize my impact on others, I need to take care of myself first. Sounds maybe obvious to a lot of you, but wasn't obvious to me and isn't obvious, and it's something I'm going to be working on for sure. So I'd invite you to reflect along with me whose opinion of you is most important to you. Where are you on that list? And maybe even think in terms of a formula. If your life were a formula, what would it be? If you're looking back at your life and you're at your own funeral some distant time in the future, what do you want to feel? What do you want to say you've done or you avoided doing? So if you're someone who's stuck in your own mind, you're an overthinker like me, but also someone who tries to inspire others, is a leader to people, manages others, puts others first a lot of the time, this episode's for you. Full confession, everything that could go wrong technically went wrong. I interacted with Tom for the last 10 minutes of the show through some strange limbo technological space where he could see me but not hear me. So he then okay, should I close the call? And I was sign languaging him to do so. So that was quite funny, but it was also quite fitting because this show's not about perfection. It's about taking meaningful steps forward, and clarity, confidence, calm, they also don't come from perfection. They come from showing up from an aligned place. So please enjoy Tom Godfrey. What do you do? Why do you do it?
Coach me if you can. Coach me if you can. Coach me if you can. Coach me if you can.
What do? I'm a mindset coach. Help people gain clarity and narrative. Why do I do it? I think it's what I'm here to do. I think it's how I serve.
Can you take us to that moment of where you found that this is how you serve?
Good one. So when I stopped pursuing that which I thought I was meant to pursue or something, and when I paid attention to the feeling, when I stopped thinking and started feeling, I'm not even talking about emotion, I'm talking about feeling, I'm talking about awareness of feeling. Clarity appeared.
And what feeling, if you have to put words to that feeling, that gave you maybe the confidence to, okay, this is something I'm obviously positively responding to?
Yeah. So feeling, when I'm talking about feeling here, I'm talking about this awareness of that which we have within us, within the body, felt within the body as alignment, truth, purpose. It almost transcends language, right? It's like, okay. So for me, how that manifested for me, how that played out in reality was I started to look ahead. I started to look ahead to the end of my life, and I started to say, how am I going to look back? How am I going to feel? Am I going to have any regrets? This was it. How am I going to have any regrets? And I started to realize the only thing I could regret really would be not following my passion, not finding my purpose. You want to kind of, how I'm defining that is having faith in alignment, trusting the feeling, following the feeling of alignment, and trusting that the path will reveal itself. That kind of idea, kind of faith, flipping from fear of not having it all worked out, not knowing what comes next, what if, flipping from fear to faith.
Lovely. So you've just mentioned what I think sounds like a very powerful tool, thinking forward to your funeral, picturing your funeral, who's there, and what gets said about you, kind of your legacy. And you kind of sketched, you want to look back and not have regrets, and also know that the life you led was in alignment with who you were.
Yeah, it's a good summary, man. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, and regrets. And what I noticed was regret was only not about the things I've done. And I've done some stupid things, but I don't regret any of them. But regret, because there's learning in everything, etc. But what I'm talking about regret here as this feeling of, what if I continue on the path I'm on, the path of trying to become someone, trying to get somewhere, trying to attain something, trying to achieve this thing called success. The regret I'm going to have when I look back is, what if I was meant to be doing? What if I'd found out what I'm here for? What alignment feels like? What authenticity feels like? What just being feels like? What if I'd found out?
So picturing someone just chasing success, hoping to find it one day, versus finding that feeling within inside you that confirms this is something to double down on, this is something to explore further. And I love that bit about faith versus fear. Fear from a state of fear, and then you maybe find that alignment somehow. We'll get into the weeds of it later, but you find that alignment somehow, and then you get faith into, this is what I'm meant to be doing, this is what I need to be doing.
Exactly that. Faith is, and this isn't in any sort of religious sense, this is about being okay with not knowing what comes next, not needing to know what comes next. And fear, and the reason I've zoned in on fear and faith here, because I realized at some point I had the honest realization that I was living my life in fear. And when I really felt into what that was, I started to go like, what am I afraid of? Really, what am I scared of here? So first of all, it's quite scary to admit to yourself that you're scared. Okay, I've got this sense of fear. What is it? What is this thing, right? So apparently I'm scared of what other people think of me. Okay, cool. I'm scared of, like, how's this going to look? I'm scared of saying the wrong thing. I'm scared of blah, blah, blah. And I just started to explore this stuff. I started to look for it. I started to look within this thing called fear. Like, what is it? And every time I thought I was getting close to it, there was nothing there. It sort of didn't really have any substance. And the only thing I could find that had any real substance was a fear of death. And then when I actually sat with that and actually kind of confronted it, it's like, well, okay, that's the only certainty. That's crazy that's even a fear. It's the only thing we can rely on. So what am I afraid of? Really, what am I afraid of? And I'm not saying...
Is this something you've done with your students as well? I mean, do we call them students, coaches, your clients?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is something so mapping the fear, labeling it, naming it, exploring it, so that it's not a map with a little bit kind of conquered but you actually make that map visible and you conquer all these kind of fear bits, and then you can start working with them. I mean, that relates to awareness, which we're here to talk about today. I feel like we don't need much of a warm-up, but we're going to have a warm-up in a minute anyway, but that's good. Just touching back on, you're a mindset coach. Maybe what's the biggest misconception that people have about a mindset coach or your profession?
That was a great question. I think the fundamental misconception of coaching in general is that you're lacking anything, is that you need to learn anything, is that you need more information, is that you need to learn tools, tips, and techniques, is that you need to do things differently. It's actually, so I think the fundamental misconception about mindset coaching is that it teaches you to do more things better or differently. It's the complete opposite. It's about letting go of all sorts of stuff that really doesn't serve you and never has.
Do you feel the clients have the answers within them?
100%, yeah.
And
that's
you're the one
foundational premise.
Okay.
I'm the one who creates the space for them to be able to see themselves without judgment. And when you can see yourself without judgment, which is very difficult, then you can see yourself objectively, and then you can make very clear decisions, very objective, clear decisions based on who you are, who you want to be, how you want to serve.
So this is this evolution of awareness that you're kind of talking about, from a lower state of awareness or a very little awareness, going higher up the evolution from the monkey to the human, to being more aware about yourself.
Exactly that. And I would say awareness is our default state. So it's like we don't have to get anywhere. It's not like we have to go graduate towards it. It's unlearning. We started out as pure awareness.
As children.
No beliefs. Beliefs are that which, so most of the work that I do with my clients is about challenging beliefs. Really, that's the heart of it, because to answer your question, it is about coming back to awareness. I would describe it as, and I would frame it as your true nature, my true nature, everyone's true nature. It's nothing to do with the person, the self, the ego, the story, the beliefs. It's the true nature is the awareness. So it's about coming back to that, getting back in touch with that which has been here all along.
Unconditioning, basically, all the stuff that has conditioned us to not see our kind of original state. I mean, if you watch children, I don't think they're stuck in the future. I don't think they're stuck in the past. I think they're just being lovely and creative and laughing, and we lose that somehow. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's the paradigm. It's the seeking paradigm. It's the idea that I have to get somewhere to become something. It's the idea that which I am seeking is found anywhere other than here.
Mm.
That doesn't mean there's nothing to do, but it just means the foundational premise is wrong. And how that manifests in us as adults is a deep-seated sense of I am broken, I need fixing, I'm not enough, I'm not deserving, I'm not worthy. All this stuff, which I used to think was just me, it's in probably everyone I've ever coached.
Yeah, so everybody's climbing an external ladder, but they should be climbing an internal ladder.
Mm.
Is that fair?
Certainly the first part. I'd say you don't need to be the external ladder. That's kind of the trap, but I don't mean to be kind of trite. There is no ladder. It is just this, but this is where the mind doesn't have anything to grab onto. And this is why I'm saying mindset coaching my approach to mindset coaching is about recognizing the role of the mind and recognizing that it is there to serve you rather than the other way around.
What are some of the problems clients experience that lead to them reaching out to you?
I mean, it's feeling stuck. It's feeling stuck in a loop and feeling out of control. And that can manifest in any way you like. But ultimately, it's about, I need to do so. It's like, why does this keep happening to me? Why do I keep getting triggered? Why do I feel so frustrated, so exhausted? Why can't I set? Why do I set? Why can't I set? I might be able to set goals, but I can't achieve them. Why can't I stay consistent? It's all kind of the same thing, but ultimately, it's why do I feel stuck? Why do I feel stuck? Something needs to change. So that's huge in itself. The recognition that something needs to change, and it's in me to change it.
That second part's so crucial, right? I mean, a lot of people maybe wait for something external to change, or the manager to leave, or something to happen at the office that, you don't feel so miserable anymore. But that second part, that it's within us. Yeah, that feels like a difficult one to discover without someone like you.
It's huge. Well, I would say you have to come to that yourself, because effectively what you're doing then is you're flipping out of the victimhood paradigm. And again, it's not your fault. We're all, to some extent, we all believe in the victimhood paradigm. And what I mean by that is we believe we live in a cause and effect reality. So we immediately look for a cause. I feel a certain way. Without even knowing it, this is happening subconsciously all the time. We're looking for the cause. What's the cause of why I'm feeling this way? So it's almost baked in that there has to be a reason, and the reason is over there somewhere. So
less painful than the reason being inside, maybe initially, or one thinks, right?
Right, because then what are you going to do? Yeah, because you can. There's never going to. And the other thing is, when you're looking out there for reasons, for excuses, you're always going to find them, because you're setting your mind the task of, you're asking the question. So this is where the mind. This is about leveraging your mind to work for you. All your mind is ever going to do is answer the question that you're asking it. And if subconsciously you're asking the question, why do I feel, why is the world unfair? Why is the world unfair? Your mind's just going to keep returning, wherever you look, keep returning 1,000,001 examples of the world being unfair. And the world is unfair, of course, but the world's also fair. So when the question shifts from why is the world unfair, or why does this keep happening to me, when that question shifts to what is in my control here, or what can I learn from this, or what could I have done differently there, or even just very subtle shifts, right? That's accountability, that's empowerment, and then that is the recognition that, okay, I can do something. Some things are in my control. So let's start with what is in my control.
Okay, I'm looking forward to the coaching session now in a minute, where we're going to spend 50 minutes together where you coach me. Before we do that, quick game of fact or fiction. The game's simple. I'll throw statements your way. You get a minute or two to reflect on it, to answer it if you want to, if you need to. Yeah, the spotlight's on you. You ready to go? Mindset coaching doesn't fix your problems. It changes the way you approach them.
Fact.
Perfectionism is a strength disguised as a weakness.
Fiction.
And you care to comment? Quick one from me. This episode is brought to you by Inner Buddies. Inner Buddies is a young modern company in the Netherlands. They're a spin-off from Maastricht University, and they do something rather specific and actually darn cool. So they study poop. They study the microbiome, they study the gut, and they do that through studying poop. So they studied my poo 5 times now over the last 3 years, and I must say I'm a complete convert. So since then, I've lost 30 kilos, I've beaten hand eczema, and I'm actually probably, as lots of people around you might say, a lot less irritable than I was, which is probably like a public service. So they send one of these test kits home to you. You go to the toilet, you put some data in the toilet, if you know what I mean. You scoop some of the data off and you mail it to them. And 4 to 6 weeks later, you get a personalized dashboard. Now, the dashboard shows you exactly what's happening on the inside. It shows your microbiome, what bacteria are thriving, which ones have gone AWOL, and how you can use nutrition and supplements to sort things out. Now, through it, I pinpointed low levels of certain bacteria, good bacteria, lactobacillus. I'm lactose intolerant, lacto, I get it. They make a topic that is very scientific, incredibly easy to navigate for us mere non-scientific folk, and they make it fun. So I've done it 5 times. It's surely not the last time. It's a bit clever, it's a bit strange, and it works. If you've ever wondered why your energy's low, why your skin's flaring up, why you're irritable, or why your third coffee is just not hitting right and you're running off to the toilet the whole time, your gut might be trying to tell you something, and Inner Buddies helps you listen. Go check out the boys and girls at Inner Buddies, www.innerbuddies.com, and use the code WellerGuts at checkout for a small discount. So, and by the way, we've just released an episode with COO of Inner Buddies, Crystal Creek. It's funny, it's fascinating, and slightly more comfortable than this ad is. So go have a listen, and to steal her words, poop it, scoop it, know it. Back to the show.
Okay, so perfectionism is an impossible ideal, and it creates a goal for the mind to fill, for the mind to measure success against. Therefore, failure is baked in, because failure is infinity, because perfection is infinity. So all we ever look at is the gap between now and infinity. So perfectionism is just...
I've never looked at it like that. That's a lovely way to put it. You have to work harder to achieve calm and clarity.
fiction.
Because?
Because calm and clarity is your default state.
So you would say you have to return to that. You have to find the ways to return to back to what we said, the child state, basically.
It's
doing less. Confidence is something you're born with, not something you can build.
Fact. And I would add to that, everyone is born with confidence.
So we're again going back to unconditioning, returning to that kind of primal, the state you've been born in. Okay.
Because it's also how we view confidence. So I do a lot of coaching around confidence, and it's how we view confidence. We view it as something that other people have. We view it as something external. We view it as how we are perceived. We view it as how we show up. We view it as how we present ourselves. We view it as an external thing. When we explore what it actually is in the coaching space, it's a feeling of calm alignment. It is the default state.
You need to always be productive is the reason so many people feel stuck.
Fact.
Okay, you survived fact or fiction.
That was great. I like that.
Yeah?
Thanks for that. Yeah, very cool.
So maybe now we'd spend 50 minutes together doing the coaching challenge. So this is where you take the reins and you see, can Peter be coached? Am I coachable? And what support you can give me. We can do this a variety of ways. I can show you a life assessment I've done, which kind of where I attempt to summarize how I feel at the moment. That could be a point where you dive in from, but you're the coach. You can also do your way,
cool.
The tools that you like.
Okay.
As we go, I'd like us to reflect a bit as we go along, what's working, what's not working, and maybe we end the coaching session with a quick reflection. And the goal would be to at least lay out the breadcrumbs on how this guy can improve his life, find more confidence, more clarity, more calm. Because those words definitely trigger me at the moment.
Well, that's amazing. That's triggers a gift.
Okay, good. Well, the floor's yours, Mez.
Okay. So the first thing I'd say, although we have an audience, the first thing I would say is this is 100% confidential and non-judgmental. That is the foundation of my coaching space. My role here is to reflect back to you what you're noticing, is to reflect back to you where you are, is to reflect back to you what you're sharing, with the intention of giving you clarity of self. And really it's about clarity on two things. It's about clarity on where I am now and where I am going, or how I feel and how I want to feel. However you want to frame that, it's clarity on those two things. The current situation as is, and the current state and the desired state, whichever way you want to put that. I'm led by you in terms of what you want to explore, what you want to share. What we are doing What's actually going on here is we are bringing your conscious awareness to your own patterns, your own subconscious patterns, really. Patterns of thinking, patterns of feeling, patterns of acting, for the purpose of giving you clarity in such a way that you can view yourself objectively. And as I say, it's being able to see yourself, being able to almost step outside and see yourself with non-judgmental compassion. Okay, cool. This is what I'm dealing with. Fine. Now, what do you want to do with it? How does that all sound?
Good.
Any questions? Any reflections?
I mean, in terms of what you said, the current state, the future state, I did that life assessment. I have a good idea what parts of my life I'm struggling with right now. Just to give you maybe a bit of context on who is your client who sits in front of you. The last 2 years have been difficult, been challenged in a variety of ways. Burnout, being obese. And there's a much healthier man who sits in front of you than, let's see, 3-4 years ago. 28 kilos I've shed through nutrition alone and through consistency and through discovering, I suppose, tasting wins quickly in the nutrition space. I want to grow in the fitness space now that I feel I have a foundation of health. Burnout still rears its kind of ugly face. I've now got a completely new job. I'm very happy with my job, but I do notice now juggling so much in life. I have a 3-year-old beautiful daughter, a 8-month-old beautiful son. I've got this passion project. I've got a relationship I absolutely am extremely grateful for. There are some things you completely don't doubt in life, and that's for me and for my wife as well, the relationship. And I'm not just saying that on the books. I know she'll listen to it. She'll say the same thing. So there are some really strong foundations in my life, but at the moment, my mental state, juggling with newfound passion, juggling with a job, juggling with a family life, juggling with a dog that has leadership ambitions in the household. That's something we can definitely talk about. And confidence is a big one. I was really overweight for 10 years. And I had moments where friends of mine wouldn't recognize me anymore because of the weight that I put on.
Mm.
Now, if there's a mate that you knew quite well and you haven't seen him in 5 years and he doesn't recognize you and introduces himself to you, that leaves a dent. Now, I've shed all of that weight, but I still feel there's a bit of a dent there. If you ask my wife, who is the Peter Charles today compared to 3 years ago, she said, I wouldn't recognize him. You know, he's full of life. He inspires other people. He lets other people around him shine. He is funny. He gets out and he's a presence, right? But still, I noticed that hangover of being very unhealthy for 10 years has left a dent. So that's confidence in that area.
Mm.
And clarity, yeah, it's interesting. Family gives me clarity. That's something I feel that has set my compass, clarity in my life. But also now being challenged by having a passion project I want to give a lot of energy to. It's dividing my energy, minding boundaries, and maybe exploring the clarity a bit more. I like my compass isn't spinning as fast as it was 2 years ago when I burned out, but it's still spinning a little bit because I'm trying to see how the dust settles, so to speak. Now, I gave you a lot of context there, but I'm just hoping you can use some of that to dive in and go a bit deep with whichever topic you want to discuss, really.
Thanks for sharing. How did it feel to reflect back on the last couple of years like that?
Good. I'm proud. I'm proud where I am now. Crazy the progress that I've done. I'm grateful that for some reason I thought, especially just talking about the weight now, I thought, how can I measure success in my weight apart from standing on the scale? What works for me? And I remember walking inside my house in Düsseldorf. We were living in Germany. And I saw the steps, and I counted the steps in our household, and there were 16 on the first staircase. And I thought, what if I put a bottle of milk or something that represents a kilo on each step? I thought, okay, let's see where this goes. So the next milk bottle we finished, I grabbed, filled it up with water, and put it on the first step. And every day I walked home, I would see this, right? And it looked ridiculous because friends, neighbors would come in and say, what's this weird staircase with all the bottles? What do they represent? But I think that was such a pivotal moment in this journey of shedding 28 kilos because I tasted the win quickly and I had a way of tracking success. So when you ask me, how does that feel reflecting? Proud, but I'm also nowhere near finished, right? But I'm happy that I'm a different person. I feel to be a different person. There are still parts I want to focus on, but I also feel like I have so much more to.
More to offer. You talked about confidence a couple of times,
Yeah.
but what does confidence mean to you?
Well, stealing from our previous discussion, returning to how I was, not as a child, but when I was in a prime state of confidence. These were student years, working in bars. I was walking 10, 15 Ks a day, eating very unhealthily, but, there was no reason for me to feel not confident. So yeah, it was kind of the way I felt at the time. And I think it was just the natural way how I was. There was nothing. I'd stand up on a table and say something. I'd put my hand up and volunteer if there was something at uni that I wanted to do, right? So there was no little voice, no kind of little whisper saying, no, you're going to fail, And there was that I felt like a light was shining on me and I was able to cast the light on people around me, kind of be funny, be entertaining. And as the kilos, the sandbags were put onto my shoulders, that's kind of very much how I felt, 18 kilos heavier. I felt like my normal state was sandbagged, if that's a word, but it is now.
Yeah, weighing you down.
Yes, absolutely.
Physically
weighing me down.
And
absolutely.
And other than physically.
Absolutely. And myself was just, you couldn't see it under the sandbags, basically covered up.
And now you're physically lighter.
Yeah.
And
I'd say half of the sandbags are off. So I think I still got this hangover of the 10 years where I was very unhealthy, heavy, didn't feel good. And now I'm in a place where, I'm returning to my older self and everybody around me notices. And I do too, which is lovely.
Thanks for sharing. Very cool reflection. I'm getting a real sense of the last few years. What about the remaining sandbags?
I think that I'd be able to lift them off, or they would lift off magically as I find more clarity and as I find more what I'm doing right now is something worth committing to. And I've got a demanding career. I've got this passion project now, which lights all the bulbs up quite bright. So I think the mental piece would actually impact that confidence hugely. Knowing, being better at boundaries, knowing this is what I want to stick to. This is Peter Charles' recipe, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I stick with this recipe, I'm good. I'm sustainable. The boat's at an even keel. And I just commit and I try to only focus on things that support this direction I want. And I'm guessing if I have that, if I get that far, the sandbags will just fly off in the confidence sections. So it's not for physical appearance or anything like that. It's sorting my mind out, doing some weeding, some gardening in my mind. I think then the rest of the sandbags will just disappear.
I love that. I love that. Weeding and gardening of the mind.
Yeah. You got a pair of tongs?
Absolutely.
Okay.
What do the weeds look like?
At the moment, it's just mental stress, kind of stress of the calendar, of trying to find a recipe that if I follow this, it ticks my priority boxes. I stay healthy, I eat healthy, I take care of my family, I take care of my children, my wife, my dog, etc. But it also puts me in a good course to performing at my job and somehow miraculously carving out time for my passion project. That at the moment is a big source of stress, the juggling, passion project, career and family time.
I hear you loud and clear. And you mentioned split energy earlier. This sense of your priorities are very clear: health, family, job, passion project. You're very proud of how far you've come already. And there's a sense of, but I'm not finished yet, was something you said as well. But I'm not finished yet. How will you know when you're finished?
I don't think I'm ever finished, and I'll ever be finished. That's just who I am in terms of impacting others, learning. I don't think I'll ever be finished. What I maybe tried to describe was there's still work to be done, that I'm in my ideal state. And the weeding, basically. And I found it interesting. I said those sandbags will disappear if I do some weeding in my mind. That's really how it feels like. So clarity and a kind of a mission that might guide my mental state in terms of calendar, in terms of priorities. There's always an ever-going struggle. Do I do this thing because the other person wants to, or is this serving me, what I'm doing now? I've dropped off alcohol. It wasn't serving me, so this whole year I'm doing no booze. I have no doubts that I'm going to do that. It's very difficult.
Congrats.
Thank you. But that's just one example of how I'm trying to de-weed my mind. But at the moment, it feels a bit like an onslaught in terms of meeting requests, this, that, syncing calendars between private life, work life. And I hate being late to meetings or not showing up or missing stuff. That puts a bit of pressure on me when it comes to these things. So that's some of the de-weeding I want to do, hopefully with you. And I feel that might contribute hugely to those sandbags also being lifted off.
De-weeding and taking that sense of pressure away. And the sense of pressure is coming from primarily the sense of competing priorities.
Yes.
And
Energy levels and different priorities draining my energy, other people draining my energy. After this burnout, my energy is a resource I want to protect. So I'm very aware of outside impact on my energy. Previously, I would have been absolutely happy just having my family and a career. But now I had this passion project, which lights me up, as I've said already. Suddenly, I find myself like, okay, I need to figure out how to deal the cards. You know, like the croupier at the casino who does this. Like, who do I want to give a card? What project in my life do I want to devote energy to? Well, there's family, no doubt about that. That's my holy sanctum, basically. Career, yeah. Second, I need to be lit up by my career. I need to feel like I'm having impact on people. And because some of the sandbags were lifted off and I felt more confident, I finally had the confidence to start this passion project. I have always wanted to have a podcast. I've always wanted to have a reason to talk to people that inspire me, that I want to learn from. And then recently, because I'm on this awesome path, I feel, I had the idea. I went out, did a photo shoot, and now I've got this kind of very fluid concept at the moment of a podcast show. But it's also post-burnout. Yeah, there's a lot going on at the moment.
And the energy becomes, I heard you describing it as, so this sense of split energy, this sense of competing priorities, and you're letting things go, right? So you've let go of alcohol, weeding, letting go of the sandbags, this whole theme of letting go. And what I'm sensing from you there is the recognition that your energy, how you feel, is both the metric, as in checking in with yourself. How's everything? How am I balancing? How is everything going? And also the commodity. When you as you say your passion project lights you up.
Yeah.
Your energy is.
It's for me the real resource. If I have energy and if I'm minding my energy, I can light my family up. I can spread light. I can do well at my career. I can pursue this passion project. Anyone who's been through burnout, energy becomes this thing that needs to be protected. And that's where I am right now. I picture, post burnout, new career, new passion project. The train's left the station and I'm trying to sprint to get on it. That's kind of how I would describe the chapter that I'm in right now.
The train's left the station.
Yeah. As in there's clear momentum in my career, clear momentum in this passion project. And I'm still figuring it out, running behind, trying to get on board. But I often think of these visual images. But that's where I am right now. That and a spinning compass.
And what's the connection between your ability to catch the train and the sandbags?
Good question. Catching the train, time, practice, I think fending off outside influences, the noise, those kind of things.
Can I share the word that's jumped out at me?
Please.
I don't even know if you said it, but this is the word that I'm hearing is clarity of intention and being intentional with your energy.
Yes, that resonates for sure.
How are you intentional with your energy, and why is that important?
I think very high up in my metric is my influence on other people. Influence is the wrong word. My impact on other people in making them feel better, being better. That's how I often devote my energy. But this is also at the workplace, but also at home. So that's something I'm very intentional with. Can I spend time with this individual to make them feel better? Playing with my children, walking my dog, those kind of things. It's all kind of devoting my energy to a way I feel things need to be so that people are at their best. So my dog's happy. My dog's my biggest friend, biggest adversary at the same time.
How did you describe the dog? The leader,
Yeah,
the
a dog with
wannabe
leadership
leader.
ambitions. Dog with
Leadership
leadership
ambitions.
ambitions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Hungarian hunting dog. I've had 2, 3 of them before. My wife and I thought we knew what we were getting into, but this dog is her state of being, her reason for being is to be the number one at everything. And people talk about alpha dogs. She's one of those. So she's someone who challenges me. Going back to intention, dividing my energy so that we, as a family, as individuals, have a kind of a state that if we follow that, if we go with that, everybody's all right.
Mm.
If we chart this course, this is a sustainable way, and there's lots of competing things for my energy. Maybe this is something people who have been through burnout might share. Energy becomes something that you need to be protected. I feel like I need to gain extra clarity so that I know what's worth my energy, and to say no to people, to boot things back because I have that sense of purpose, that clarity.
And you've mentioned boundaries a few times. Is that boundaries around energy becomes boundaries around protecting your energy and recognizing what protects your energy, what gives you energy, and really tuning in with.
Yeah. And I think there was people pleasing in the past, something that I'm kind of awakening to that definitely doesn't serve me. And so that's something I'm very conscious of at the moment.
Is this helpful so far?
Yes, but I'm also keen on your angles on some of them. I mean, yes, it's confirming the mission. The mission's becoming a bit clearer.
What are you noticing?
I'm noticing we're looking at things, different perspectives, and I think the clarity is improving because we're talking about what's really important. And that in a way is helping with the clarity. But it's not like I've got this, okay, right, this is the recipe I'm going for, and then I stick to that.
Is there any new thinking today?
Not yet, no.
And the idea of a recipe.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm hunting something unattainable there, but I feel like if Peter Charles has his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on a piece of paper, if this is the recipe to a sustainable life where I can be at my best, people around me can be at their best. And if we just stick to that, maybe being healthy, leaving out the alcohol, these are all elements of this recipe that if I stick to that, the conditions are very good, the weather conditions are very good to fly the plane.
So there's a recipe, it's got a number of elements in it.
Yeah.
A number of criteria, a number of conditions, almost like the formula, almost like the
Yeah.
Peter formula.
Part of that formula, I think, is what you asked yourself about your own funeral. What do I want to be?
Right. Well, that was going to be the next question. There's however many elements there are. Let's say there's 5 elements and you kind of give them all a heading. And then it's all about, okay, if I can just maintain that balance, all is good. So you've written them down on a sheet of paper, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What's written at the top of the sheet of paper?
You mean now at my funeral, or just the priorities, the recipe for Peter's?
The idea of the recipe, yeah.
I'd say my impact on my family.
Finding the balance of the recipe, whatever it needs to look like, whatever it ends up looking like. The output, the key metric, is my impact on my family. Did I hear?
I'd say so. Yeah, I'd say so. What does a mindset coach think of that?
Well, my immediate next question would be, what is your impact on your family?
I'm a fantastic dad to my daughter and my son. I think that's right up there with how I am to my wife and the way I am to my wife. But there's a very personal reason for why it's such a priority for me that I am the best possible dad that I can be. And that's right up there for me. And I'm already achieving it. And so that's a lovely feeling, but it's something I don't want to take my foot off the gas pedal in that front at all. And it's something that requires constant self-development, learning, innovation. Yeah, but it's something I'm already achieving. I can see how my daughter lights up in certain activities and doubling down on her strengths and fanning the flame that I see in my daughter. My son's very, very, very little yet, but as a 3-year-old, I can definitely see sparks in her, and I want to do everything I can to fan that flame.
Thanks for sharing, man.
Yeah, and the same applies to my wife. So, yeah, that's right up there.
A worthy ideal.
Yeah, I don't think I'd swap that for anything. That needs to be up there.
And you said this idea of I've got to keep my foot on the gas.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
In the context of me fanning the flame on my children, my wife, it's something I don't think I'd ever want to give up on. So there's always work to be done, I think. Maybe that comes to that compass being very clearly set in that area of my life. That's it to me.
Where would you like to go next?
Well, that's one of that list. What's the next one?
Which list are we talking?
The recipe, the Peter Charles's priorities, that if he sticks with that.
Well, the question around the recipe was, the recipe has the constituent parts pretty clearly defined, and the intention is to find a way to find that balance.
Yes. And
with protecting your energy being intentional with your energy being the metric. And when we kind of delved into it, the ultimate metric is being a good dad, being a good husband.
It's already helpful for me hearing that kind of, yeah. That confirms it. I mean, what you're doing here is uncovering something that was in me already, but maybe wasn't as clear as it is now. So it's less blurry now. Just coming back to what you said, is this helping any new thoughts? That's definitely new, that clarity of mission in that thing. I think there's more to Peter Charles's recipe than just that, but that is the chief. Nothing can knock it off its number one position.
And that's very clear to me from everything you've shared today, right? That's woven into your words throughout.
Yeah.
So I'm glad. That's a very nice reflection for me to hear. So I'm glad that that's been brought out into the space and into your, as I said at the start, the entire purpose is bringing this out into your conscious awareness, because we can't see this stuff. It's so obvious we don't recognize it.
Yeah, that's how it feels. And of course, there's so much noise around us constantly, and our mind's always probably zooming in on the problems and not on, as you said in the beginning, the stuff within. So I feel more aware in that sense. But I also feel my career can have a real impact on that number one position. The energy that I give in my career can influence how I impact my family and how that number one priority has. And especially if you add more onto what I'm doing in my life list, it becomes critical for me if things influence that number one position, if I feel like something's impeding my impact in my family.
Energy is the ultimate metric. Awareness of my energy, how I'm feeling. Is there a way to make that the formula? Is there a way to check in with that metric?
So I'm not a maths person. Everybody around you who knows me would tell you that, so don't trust Peter when it gets to maths. But I'm kind of thinking in terms of simplifying this in terms of a mathematical formula. There's my impact on my family and my family's well-being is the thing that comes before the equals. So there's a formula, stuff I have to juggle with, but how I do that equals how good my family's doing, and me included. I don't know the rest of the formula yet. I mean, there's career in there. There's the amount of time I spend on my career. There's the influence of my career's influence on my energy, my colleagues, the demands of the job. That all influences my energy. So that needs to be in the formula somewhere. Time spent on my own, the passion project. That's in there. And also things like health, fitness. Am I taking care of this machine? Because if I don't keep the engine in top condition, I won't be able to have as much impact on my family for as long as I want to.
Whose opinion of you is most important to you?
My children, number one. Closely, my wife would be on right up there too.
Anyone else?
Best friends, but there's a big gap in the list. That's the family. Those are the opinions, and I'm not mentioning myself here, but I'd say I'm right up there as well.
Where would you be on the list?
Interesting new thought here. I don't know if I should be number one. Take care of yourself before you take care of others, that sort of thing. But I'd say, yeah, I should probably be number one, shouldn't I? I'd say yes, because my opinion of me, if I have a good opinion of, oh yeah, we're getting into the weeds here. So the question was,
Whose opinion of you is most important to you?
I'm going to change my answer. I'd say number one should be me. Because if I suppose I'm my harshest critic, and that can influence so many things in my life. Also, how I enjoy my children if I'm not satisfied with what I'm doing, what's going on. So maybe that needs to be the number one or the foundation. Because if you're in a good space, then you can spread that light to others.
I felt that, man. I felt that.
Are you on number one on your list?
This isn't about me. This is your coaching session. Thanks for sharing. That kind of brings us quite nicely to the end of our session today. I'm going to invite you to reflect on anything you want to reflect on from how you found it today.
So reflecting, I mean, I love that. I need to find out more about this number one position, right? Because that's making me uncomfortable at the moment because it's a bit of a paradigm shift. I need to investigate that further.
Well, I would gently challenge that
Okay.
if I may,
Yes.
just on everything that we've discussed today. It felt to me, it seemed to me like the initial response was patterned response, the subconscious response. But then it seemed to me like when you gave it your conscious awareness, you reflected and your answer was very clear. There was a sense of,
yeah.
I heard there was a sense of, well, actually, when I think about it, when I feel into it, I should be top of the list. And then there was a sense of, well, hang on, is there a problem with that? But what I saw from you was absolute clarity around that.
And what do you think of that kind of prioritization?
What's important is what you think of it. And no, it's not even what you think of it, it's how you feel. It's how it feels. It's how it feels. Can I say to myself, my opinion of myself is important. Not only is it important, it's the most important thing. And can I reconcile that with, because the reason it's important is because when I show up aligned and intentional, my family it benefits those around me, which is your primary objective, which is your guiding, your North Star, your true intention. So my only question is, how does it feel? And that's ultimately the gauge, right? That's ultimately the metric, is can I look myself in the mirror and say my opinion of myself is more important than anyone else's? And here's why it's important. Because I can show up I can be the best possible father and husband, and that's what's most important to me.
Thank you very much, Tom, for that. I felt like some of the weather cleared, some of the clouds lifted. There's a lot for me to think about and reflect about this, which I'm definitely going to do. We're not going to have time today to go through all the audience questions, but maybe you can shoot me an email afterwards. Maybe that's something you want to do separately. We put 15 minutes, 20 minutes aside, go through the audience questions, 2 minutes a piece kind of thing. And we do that because I'd love to link some of your advice, or not advice, but some of your input to the listeners.
I'd be very happy to do that. Yeah, let's do that separately as well.
Great. Okay. Maybe the last part then, we're skipping the Q&A. The last part, I've got 3 questions for you. Number 1, picture all the listeners passing the same billboard every day on their way to work. What's your message on that billboard when it comes to awareness and comes to Thomas Godfrey's message to the listener?
You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of thought.
You are not your thoughts, you're the observer of thoughts. So you're not your
thought.
Of thought.
Do you want me to explain?
Please.
That's the first step out of the overthinking mind. If you are stuck, you could only be stuck in one place, and that's in the world of the mind. That is the most accessible first step, is to recognize you are not your thoughts. Your thoughts are very familiar. They're very repetitive. They're so familiar you can't even see them anymore, and they're so familiar you think they are you. You are not your thoughts, you're the observer of thought. It allows you to break the identification of yourself, your very self-identity with the activity of the mind. And just being able to take that one step, just making that one step, because most of us are stuck in the world of the overthinking mind, and it's so familiar we don't even recognize it anymore, and we mistakenly identify our very sense of self with thought. So just taking that one step to just become the observer of thought. You don't have to do anything with it. Just let it do its thing. The mind is going to continue doing its thing. You don't have to jump on the thought train. You don't have to dive into the thought loop. You are the observer. And that's just a constant reminder. And it becomes the practice.
Which is what I did towards the end of our session, where I stepped back challenged my own priorities. I observed them and thought, wait a second, there's someone else important I'm forgetting. Awesome. Okay, next question. What's one simple action that you would like to leave the listeners on, that they can, so ridiculously easy, or maybe not easy, but just something that they can, in the busy life, in the chaotic life, that they can do on a daily basis, maybe during a week?
Okay, so I've got an awareness tool, and this allows you to make the very subtle shift from reacting to responding. And this is the difference between being unconscious and being present, basically. And this is about triggers. I think we talked about triggers at the beginning. So start to pay attention to your own triggers and start to view every time you get triggered, start to view it as not about the person triggering you, but what it's pointing to in you. And the tool I'm introducing here is the conscious pause. Just before you react, when you catch yourself, when you notice yourself ready to say something, ready to react, just pause, observe, allow, breathe, then choose your response. And very, very often, no response will be needed. Introduce a conscious pause, and you can use it throughout the day. You can use it whenever you like. So I would say the conscious pause is an awareness practice, and you can have a bit of fun with it. And then the other thing is self-talk. Start paying attention to self-talk. And every time, and there's a couple of red flag phrases that I would encourage everyone to just have a bit of fun with this and just start to notice every time you hear yourself or someone else saying, I'm just not, or I've never been, or I'm not one of those people who, or other people are. And the reason that these type of phrases are so powerful is they represent our belief system, our subconscious belief system. And most of our beliefs about who we are, most of our self-identity is made up of beliefs about who we're not. So it's kind of like this constraint, this construct, and its dimensions, its boundaries are a load of statements saying, I'm just not, I'm just not, I'm just not, I'm just not, I'm just not. So once you start to pay attention to those, then you can start to bring them into your conscious awareness and start to challenge them. What if I was? Do I even want to be? And what if I was? Because it's only the belief that you're not something that is playing on repeat in the background all day that makes you believe it's real. Because then we experience the world, we experience 5 sense reality through the lens of our beliefs. So it's filtered in through our beliefs. So we see evidence of it because we believe it. It's crazy. I can't hear you, but I can't hear you. I sense you were doing an outro then. I could there was a little bit of lip reading going on. Should we wrap it up? Shall I sign us off? Well, thanks so much for having me on. I've thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. I really like the structure of the show. I love what you're building here, man. And I appreciate being a part of it. And let's do the Q&A because I'm really interested and excited to see what questions your audience have in store. So thanks very much, and let's stay in touch.